get excited about in the last few years, but exactly 100 years ago today, Bradford City were the toast of English football.
Yes, on April the 26th, 1911, City beat Newcastle United 1-0 in the FA Cup final replay at Old Trafford. And 100 years on, they're still talking about it.
In fact, there's a special dinner this evening to commemorate it, and our sports correspondent John Shires is there for us.
Yes, this is the Midland Hotel in Bradford, where 100 years ago today, the victorious Bradford City team returned to a hero's welcome. Now, they actually arrived back at Exchange Station over the other side of the city centre and made their way here on two horse-drawn charabancs. It's estimated that around 100,000 fans lined the streets between there and here. That was around a third of the total population of the city at the time. Well, in a moment we'll be moving inside, but first, Lisa Adlam has been to the Bradford Industrial Museum, where they're holding an exhibition to commemorate the finest hour in Bradford City's history.
It's the astonishing story of a meteoric rise to glory. City were only formed in 1903, Yorkshire's first professional club. 8 years later, they were lifting the cup. The two teams had played out a dull goalless draw at Crystal Palace. 5 days later, they met again at Old Trafford.
Old Trafford was about 1 year old, so it was also the new Old Trafford. It was the biggest game played in Manchester at that time. A wet day in Manchester, surprisingly, a bit windy. The City scored quite early on after 15 minutes and then were relatively comfortable. They nullified the Newcastle attack and probably should have won by another couple of goals.
The only goal of the game was scored by Scotsman Jimmy Spears, who'd been signed from north of the border to captain the team.
He was apparently the tactical genius. He was the man who pulled all the strings, but he was killed 6 years later at Passchendaele, shot through the leg and died a terrible death in a lonely shallow. When you think about 6 years earlier, he's in front of 100,000 people on the FA Cup.
Spears was one of 9 City players to die in the horror of the Great War, just one of the reasons why the club failed to kick on from its FA Cup final success.
I think you've got to take into account Bradford Park Avenue had been formed in 1907, and they had a tremendously wealthy backer. That split the support in the city, and of course Leeds United formed, Huddersfield Town, Halifax Town, etc. So going from being West Yorkshire's only club, suddenly they had a lot of competition around them, and the Bradford wool trade began to decline. So there's a combination of factors.
The exhibition at the Bradford Industrial Museum brings together a host of memorabilia never seen in one place before. The shirts worn by the two sides, the match ball, and several of the winners' medals.
It really brought home to me the characters behind it and the fact that not much has changed. A lot of the problems they faced, a lot of the interest they had were very, very similar to today. The only thing that's changed really is that, I don't know, we're playing colour now, not black and white.
And here we are in the Princess Ballroom. It's the very room where the reception that night was held when the team came back. With me is the FA Cup itself, and John Dewhurst, one of the organisers. John, a story worth commemorating.
Absolutely. A very, very important date in the history of Bradford City. It was the ultimate triumph of the club.
John Ashton, also another of the organisers. The FA Cup here, it was an amazing coincidence because this was actually designed the previous year in Bradford.
That's right. The second trophy, it had been discovered that a number of forgeries had been made, and so the FA in 1910 decided to have a third trophy, and they launched a competition for the design of the third one, and it was a Bradford company, Fattorini, who won the competition and produced the trophy. A Bradford company.
Absolutely amazing coincidence. And John, what have you got planned for tonight? What's happening here?
We've got a sell-out dinner in attendance. We've got directors from the club. We've also got a good representation of ex-players. But essentially, this is a supporters' dinner. The pricing has been made as accessible as possible, and it's sold out long ago.
And just finally, back to you, John. The FA Cup, in those days, 1911, was the be-all and end-all, wasn't it?
That's right. Resting players for competitions is nothing new, except in 1911, players tended to be rested for the FA Cup tournament itself. The league was secondary in those days, and it was the real pinnacle of a footballer's career to win the FA Cup.
Real pinnacle of Bradford's football career as well. Well, that was 100 years ago. Let's get bang up to date with yesterday's action in the Football League. One or two things decided. In all probability, barring mathematical improbabilities, Sheffield United and Scunthorpe United will be relegated from the Championship, but they're pretty pleased about this here in this room. Bradford City's Football League status should be secure. Here's the action.